Have you ever had that nightmare? The one where you wake up in a pitch-black box, the air thick and heavy, the silence broken only by the sound of your own frantic heartbeat. You realize with dawning horror that you're trapped 6 feet under. For most of us, it's just a bad dream. But for one man, aquí no less, this nightmare became a terrifying reality. This is the incredible, almost unbelievable story of the king who was buried alive and lived to tell the tale. Our story begins in the 18th century with a man named Przemysl Otaka II, the powerful and ambitious king of Bohemia. They called him the Iron and Golden King. Iron for his military might, and golden for the immense wealth he commanded from his kingdom's silver mines. He was a force to be reckoned with, a ruler who had expanded his territories to stretch from the Adriatic Sea almost to the Baltic. He was at the absolute pinnacle of power. But as we all know, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. King Otaka had a rival, a man just as ambitious as he was. Rudolf of Habsburg. Rudolf was a German count who, in a surprising turn of events, was elected King of the Romans, a title that put him on a collision course with Otaka. The two men clashed over power, land, and influence. Their rivalry simmered for years, a political chess match that finally erupted into open warfare. The stage was set for a monumental confrontation that would change the course of European history. The battle on the Marchfeld in 1278. This wasn't just any battle. It was one of the largest cavalry battles of the Middle Ages. Imagine the scene. Thousands of knights in gleaming armor, their banners snapping in the wind, the ground trembling under the thundering hooves of their war. On one side, King Otaka, confident in his elite heavy cavalry. On the other, Rudolf of Habsburg, a cunning strategist who had a few tricks up his sleeve. The battle was ferocious. For hours, the two armies clashed in a brutal struggle. Otaka and his Bohemian knights fought with incredible bravery, and at first, it seemed they might carry the day. But Rudolf had a secret weapon. An ambush. A contingent of his knights, hidden from view, charged into the rear of Otaka's army at the critical moment. The surprise attack threw the Bohemian forces into chaos. Their lines broke, and the battle turned into a rout. In the midst of the confusion, the great King Otaka was unhorsed, surrounded, and tragically slain on the battlefield. The Iron and Golden King was dead. Or was he? Rudolf, the victor, needed to prove to the world, and especially to Otaka's skeptical subjects, that their king was truly gone. A dead king couldn't lead a rebellion. So, he had Otaka's body displayed. But this is where the story takes a very strange turn. Instead of a proper burial, Otaka's body was, well, let's just say it wasn't treated with the respect you'd expect for a king. Accounts from the time are a bit murky, but they suggest a hasty, almost disrespectful interment. Some chronicles even hint that he was simply placed in a shallow grave, or a temporary tomb, with little ceremony. Now, let's fast forward a few days. Imagine being a monk in a nearby monastery. It's late, the world is quiet, and suddenly you hear a faint scratching sound. A muffled cry. You dismiss it as the wind, or a wild animal, but it persists, growing stronger. A human voice, desperate and weak, calling from the ground. This is where legend and history blur into a fantastic tale. The story goes that the monks, drawn by the ghostly sounds, were led to the site of Otaka's makeshift grave. Overcoming their fear, they began to dig, and what they found was not a corpse, but a living, breathing man. King Otaka, he was alive. How could this be possible? The most likely explanation is that Otaka wasn't actually killed on the battlefield. In the chaos of the fight, he was likely struck on the head and knocked unconscious, suffering a severe concussion. In the brutal aftermath of medieval combat, a deeply unconscious person, not breathing noticeably and without a pulse that was easy to find, could easily be mistaken for dead. His enemies, eager to declare their victory, didn't bother to check too closely. They saw their rival fall, and that was enough for them. They buried a man who was still in a deep, death-like coma. Can you even begin to imagine what Otaka experienced? Waking up in utter darkness, the weight of the earth pressing down on him, the suffocating lack of air, the taste of dirt in his mouth, the slow, creeping terror turning into sheer, primal panic. It's a horror beyond comprehension. His survival was nothing short of a miracle. A combination of a shallow grave, porous soil that allowed some air to filter through, and the incredible luck of being found before it was too late. His royal constitution and sheer will to live must have played a part, too. He literally clawed his way back from the dead. The news spread like wildfire. The king, who was buried alive, had returned. For his people, it was a sign from God. Their rightful ruler had been resurrected. This wasn't just a man. He was a legend reborn. His miraculous survival transformed him. He was no longer just the Iron and Golden King. He was Otaka the Undying, a figure of mythic proportions. His authority wasn't just based on military power anymore. It was now sanctified by divine intervention. What happened next is just as remarkable. You might think a man who went through such an ordeal would retire from the world, but not Otaka. This experience didn't break him. It forged him anew. He rallied his loyal followers, his story serving as the ultimate recruiting tool. Who wouldn't want to fight for a king who had cheated death itself? He confronted his old rival, Rudolph, not just as a king, but as a living legend. The political landscape had completely shifted. Rudolph couldn't simply dismiss him anymore. He was now dealing with a man who commanded an almost fanatical devotion from his subjects. The two rivals eventually met to negotiate. Imagine Rudolph's face, seeing the man he thought he had killed and buried, standing before him, very much alive. After his incredible ordeal, Otaka went on to rule for many more years, his reign forever marked by the extraordinary story of his resurrection. His legend became a cornerstone of Bohemian identity, a testament to resilience and the indomitable will to survive against impossible odds. The tale of King Przemysl Otaka II is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the true ones. It's a story of power, rivalry, and a brush with death so terrifying it's hard to fathom. It shows us that history is often stranger, more dramatic, and more inspiring than any fiction we could ever invent. The king who was buried alive and lived teaches us about the fragility of life, but also about the incredible strength of the human spirit. What do you think of this incredible story? Could you imagine surviving something so horrifying? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical adventure. See you next time.